All right. Next, this is sort of a teaser that, coming up, we will be, our next item is Janet will be presenting our draft strategic plan, which is the board has been working very diligently on putting together a plan. But I've participated in many strategic planning initiatives, and this is a very different process. So for those of you who have done this in the past, you will be interested in somewhat intrigued in the method that we're using now, the process that we're working now. So as we go into this, there is going to be an opportunity at the end of Janet's presentation for you to join in an action team and help push out and develop specific activities or actions, if you will. So our next meeting, because of respecting everybody's time, we are going to dedicate the next meeting, our May 27th meeting, as we're calling it a club assembly, but the focus is going to be on working on those action plans for strategic plans. So the whole meeting will really be we'll greet each other, and then we will go into breakout sessions based on what Janet is sort of the takeaways that Janet is going to present soon. So just keep that in your mind as we now turn it to Janet for our presentation of our strategic plan. Janet.
Good morning. Hi, Karen.
Good morning.
I'm not sure if my camera is working. I have a new phone, so you can let me know if it's working.
It is. You are on.
Oh. Okay. And Michelle will be running the deck for us. So thank you, everyone. For our strategic planning process has been going for quite some time. So we will go all the way back to shortly after we started as a club, and we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary, to when we started talking about our mission and our beliefs and long-term how we would build a club that could achieve what we want to achieve. So we started with a survey. And many of you participated in that survey about what we believe about human trafficking, what we believe about Rotary, what we believe will make us move forward. And we also started with a mission that had been drafted as part of our club charter. So right now we are looking just at the mission statement, and this has been revised a little bit, went through the board level committee, and now we're seeking feedback from everyone in the membership. So everything you see today, we hope a lot of work has gone into it. So we hope it resonates with what you believe our club should be. But it is still in draft form. Nothing is written in granite, and we do have the opportunity to change words or tweak here and there. So please actively engage in the chat if there are any questions you have. But the mission of the club that we're proposing is that the mission of the Rotary Club to end human trafficking. I have to get to a spot I can read this better. Thank you. And we are a network, an international network of Rotarians, is to end the humanitarian crisis of human trafficking by engaging partners and local communities across the world. So the key words here obviously are ending the humanitarian crisis. So we're defining human trafficking as a humanitarian crisis. And then we're going to accomplish our work through others, accomplish our work through partnerships and local communities across the world. Next slide, Michelle. Some of the belief statements, and we surveyed our membership on this, and I believe we started with about a brainstorming list that we collected from the whole club, and then we sent a survey out to the board level and narrowed that down to about 8 or 10, and now we have narrowed this list down to about 5. And these are really the fundamental values of our club that we'd like to see. And it is that human trafficking will require a well-organized approach against a well-organized infrastructure of traffickers. That human trafficking is preventable through education, legislation, and advocacy. That Rotary is uniquely positioned to end human trafficking through its ability to pull organizations together for a common humanitarian cause. Next, that effectively engaging local communities is essential. to ending human trafficking, and partnering with other organizations increases our capacity to impact change and end human trafficking. So these are the 5 belief statements. We've had some discussions about reordering them and that putting them in order that will tell a story, and again, really guide our work, that we believe first that we need to be well organized because the people we're working against are very well organized, but it is preventable. These beliefs will guide our objectives that you'll see in just a little bit. And then of course, the work, the strategy that we will be doing as well. So next we'll look at our strategic priorities that we've identified. And we are mindful that we are a volunteer club, that we all have full-time jobs, and that we want to focus our energies on things that will make a substantive difference for the long term and build the capacity of our club, without asking so much of our members that it's not deliverable or undoable. So our strategic priority number 1 will be to identify and support educational and prevention programs and projects to be replicated at the local level. So important words here are identify and support. We are not looking at writing curriculums. We are not looking at recreating some of the great work that is already out there, but we do want to identify and fully vet, because we have that expertise within our club, fully vet some of the educational and prevention programs and projects, and then be a conduit through our partners and networks to get those out to local level and provide support then at the local level. Number 2 is that we will develop key partnerships to facilitate implementation of the programs at the local level. Obviously, these partnerships can be with local Rotary clubs, but also with other nonprofits, with schools, with police departments, with community groups. Rotary is so effective when working with local communities at a local level. Number 3, we will build organizational capacity through membership growth and infrastructure to implement club active initiatives at the local level. So this really gives a nod to the fact that we are in our first year as a club, that there is organizing that needs to be done, and that our club is only as strong as our membership. And we are only as strong as the active involvement of our membership. So that is also a call for each of you to think about which one of these strategic priorities would you most be interested in working on and dedicating time toward. We will need everyone in the club actively involved in identifying the work that we need to do, developing the action plans to make it become a reality, and then of course over the next few years implementing those action plans. Next slide, please. Finally, we want to be accountable and have some measurements and objectives of how we are progressing in our plan. So our first objective is that we will engage a minimum of 5 additional Rotary clubs and Rotary districts each year as partners in local implementation. Next, we will consistently grow our membership and capacity by 24 new members a year. This is about 2 new members a month, which we achieved this morning. So thank you to the membership committee. We certainly want to continue at that pace. Next, we will retain 90% of our members annually. And we really see our strategic plan as a retention tool as well. When people are actively engaged in the work, when they feel ownership for the work, when each of you knows that you're contributing through the strategic objectives, we'll have a stronger involvement and sense of belonging with the club. Next, we will offer only high quality and credible programs and projects. This will go back to there needs to be that vetting capacity, and know that the people that we are working with, their time is valuable, and that we need to make sure that we are only delivering quality. Next, we will add at least 1 key strategic partnership each year. This partnership could be a provider of a program or a tool that's already out there. It could be a local or national nonprofit or NGO or other type of organization that we want to add. But it would be at the club level, a strategic partnership, not necessarily our local level partners would not necessarily count toward this objective, although they're key for the implementation. And finally, we will expand the capacity of our website as a premier source for ending human trafficking, reflective of the international reach and local impact our club members have. So we do have 2 websites. We need to get the 2 of them connected. One is a publicly facing resource site, and the other is our club activity and business on Club Runner. So we certainly want to get that. And thank you, Michelle, for bringing up that website. That is our outwardly facing, that we would like to become that premier resource for ending human trafficking. Next, we will go down to questions that you've got about this strategic plan to this point. High level, we're going to get much more in depth next week. But my first question to you is, do you see yourself and do you see your work reflected in this plan? Does the mission align with you? Do the beliefs align with you? Do you have any questions for clarification at this point? You could use the chat or go ahead and unmic.
I think it's a great plan.
Thanks for that feedback. Thank you.
I think you accomplished all of the elements that we need to be successful in our mission and purpose, that you put the horse before the cart in terms of vetting individual organizations to make sure that we're going to answer the question. And accountability is not only important for our organization and any other of the partners, but it's also part and parcel to any global grant opportunity. Because if we don't have metrics that show the work that we're doing that is being valuable and accountable, then we will lose our credibility as an organization. So great job.
You. Thank you. Well, what we have right now is a framework, and in order to make that accountability, we're going to need everyone's involvement. So thank you very much for that. Seeing a couple messages come up in the chat. Michelle, are there any that I should attend to? I've just seen them pop up on the screen.
Probably the one from Michael leads into your next slide. He said, my experience with strategic plans is that they are only as good as it gets pushed down into granular actions, something that volunteer organizations in particular have an issue with. Has thought gone into that?
So let's go on to the next slide. Thank you.
Nice segue.
Nice segue. So yes, thought has. The next process in our strategic plan is actually building out those action plans. So we have put those into 3 groups that align with our 3 strategies. Number 1 are those programs and projects. What is our process going to be for vetting? What are the programs and projects we want to start with? All of those questions. What does that mean? And what is, when we're actually implementing 3 years from now, what are the deliverables and what have we accomplished? So that is the action planning phase. Number 2 are the strategic partnerships. Again, what are the rules and policies that might guide strategic partnerships? What criteria might prioritize them? What are strategic partnerships that we know about already and that we want to go after? And number 3 is the organizational capacity and membership. And I will say the membership committee, I hope this is one that you're interested in, although you can certainly be on others too. The other on the organizational capacity, we want to really build out a lot of resources on that website. We want to make sure all of our policies are in place over the next few years. So if you have any interest or background, not necessarily in building websites, we've got people that can do that, but in getting and assembling resources, in keeping resources up to date, how we can get ongoing communication to our partners and our members, and then other organizational capacity items, you would want to jump into group 3. For next meeting, I'm going to ask that everyone in our club pick one of these 3. It doesn't mean that you're actually doing work on it moving forward. But if you will pick one of these 3 groups, next week, we're going to break into 3 breakout rooms. And during that breakout time, we'd like you to come up with what are some specific end results, projects, programs, specific end results that we want to put into each of these areas. The questions that we'll discuss next week is how does each of these strategic statements, so strategy 1 will go to group 1, how do each of the strategic statements support our mission and beliefs? And what are specific actions you'd like to see the club fulfill in order to fulfill the strategy? Then we will also ask which of the objectives on slide 5 will your strategy support, and how will we monitor progress? So what are the specific actions that we can take that will then fulfill those objectives?